a new type of presentation I'm trying, and it's a little bit more interactive. Don't be scared, Phil. You'll be all right. Oh, just open it to your picture. If you've never done it before, open up your picture like you're going to take a picture of something. Put it on there. Come on in, guys. Yep, so whenever you open it up, oh, good, put it on. Scan the QR code. So put your picture like you're going to take a picture of this right here. Now click on it, there will be a little link. Did you get it? Yep. So it's going, go ahead and open it up. So then we're going to have a little bit of interactive stuff in here. So whenever you guys get to this, you guys need help back there, you got it.
I can take the picture where you do.
Bring it up and then click on the link.
Oh,
Bring it up.
nope. Go ahead and click on the link right there. Oh. There we go.
Yeah, Colin, but I still, how will I get over there?
Yep, it'll load up.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
And then hit the, whenever you get there, whenever it loads up, just hit the thumbs up.
Okay, thank you.
Woohoo! We're getting thumbs up. So there'll be another code here come up too whenever we get a little bit further along. So a little bit about myself. The introduction was done, but I was born and raised on my grandparents' dairy farm. They're in the Ozarks. If you've never been to the Ozarks, we got lots of hills, tons and tons and tons of rocks, and trees. There's not much dirt or soil down there. It's mainly made up of rock. We're down there in the Huzzah Bottoms. In 2012, my grandfather passed, Dad and I took over the operation, and we were essentially starting out from zero in a lot of ways. But we will do anything that we can to turn a dollar, whether that's stockers, replacement heifers, partnership cattle, custom grazing, cow-calf. What you're going to see today is a much more refined version of something I developed in 2014, 2015 before I started with the university, to be able to track what groups of cattle we're making for us. Rather than just doing it on paper, which is completely fine, but how do we keep track of that long term? How can we get a consistent viewing? How can we input production numbers and then also get financials back out of it? So at the time, I couldn't find anything. I cobbled things together from different sites, but I wanted something that was free whenever I developed this. And then there was really limited options. There wasn't any type of software at the time that was accessible. So let's ponder for a moment. How do producers track financial information for groups of cattle? What do you guys do? When you got groups of cattle going through, how do you keep track of the numbers?
Use Cattle Max.
Cattle Max, okay. Piece of paper in your head.
That's not a good thing.
So, I mean, those are some very common items that people use, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what we've had. Unless you're willing to spend a lot of money on software, which some operations do and can, your options a lot of times are limited. And then also, what does your lender want to see? When you go to the bank, you've got to go to the bank every once in a while to ask for money, most likely. What does your lender ask for? What do they want to see out of your operation? Cash flow. Okay. Projections.
How much equity you've got in it versus what you're asking.
They want to see how you're doing. Is this a viable investment for them? If they are going to lose money, why would they keep putting money into you? But they want to see what you're doing. So current operations. Managing cattle really means you need some type of financial awareness. We all know that these little critters suck a tremendous amount of dollars out of us. But what do they do? What do they return to us? Operations a lot of times are looking to increase cash flow. That is the lifeblood of our business. You've got to have cash flow to be able to operate. If you don't have cash flow, you're essentially dead in the water. So this beef feeding profitability tracker, it offers a no-cost solution for tracking your financial standing. On top of that, you also get your production metrics out of it. So it's kind of an all-in-one tool that makes life a lot easier. So, what we're going to go through is how this applies to livestock, what different groups can be tracked in this. Ultimately, if you're looking to put weight on animals, any type of animal, this tool will work for it. Metrics. What type of metrics does this tool look at? How does it track them? How does it track the group summaries? The layout. We're going to view the different layout sections of it, and then ultimately we will view this in Excel. So after we get done with the presentation, I'll open up Excel, and then we'll go through and you can see the tool in action. So this is where the Mentimeter, keep calling it something else. How do you currently keep records for production and financial? If you should be able to pull it up on your phone and type it in. Can everyone do that? Pull up the presentation. Is the presentation pulled up? Yep. So go ahead and type in the answers. What you currently do to keep track of it. And then if you don't have that pulled up, it's no big deal. You can just say it out loud as well. Anyone else use something different than what's up there on the screen?
Microsoft Money.
Microsoft Money?
We use QuickBooks, I mean, so
QuickBooks.
we try to use that as much as we can.
Okay.
I mean, we put everything in there, but I mean.
Yep. So QuickBooks is an option, but not for tracking production metrics.
Right.
So why? Currently, there's not a lot of good free options out there, or even cost-effective options for operations. If you've got the ability to spend several $100s a month or a couple thousand, there are certainly options. But if you're like us, we're cheap, and it just doesn't make sense to spend that kind of money. Especially, it just does not make good financial sense. However, you need more than a budget. You need more than a budget. You have to know what is going on big picture. So I wanted to offer producers an all-in-one to track production. So cow-calf. When you are a cow-calf operator, when you wean calves, what do you become? Stocker operator. You don't like to think of yourself as that, but ultimately when you wean those calves, you become a stocker operator. Now, that might be short-term, that might be preconditioning for 45 or 90 days, maybe 120, but you become a stocker operator at that point. Those cattle, by becoming a stocker operator, should that positively affect your return on investment? Hopefully. But do you know all the time? Not for sure. But you need, when thinking about this, your cow-calf, if you're backgrounding those calves, they need to there's a return on investment. A return on investment for you. So when the calves are sold, you can use the financial analysis of this to determine what your return on investment was, what your cost of gain was for those home-raised calves. Just start thinking about this in a bigger picture rather than just, I'm a cow-calf operator, I sell calves 45 days after they're weaned. What did that cost you? So, how do you do this for a cow-calf operation? The first step is you've got to identify the value of those calves at weaning. I'm sure everyone's aware of it. If you're unsure of what those calves could possibly be worth, just go to the MDA, Market News Report, pull up your local sale barn. What will your calves sell for? Be honest with yourself. Are they ones? Are they ones and twos? Are they twos? What would they do? Put an honest range on them. Don't just pick the highest price, but pick an honest amount. I would suggest using one worksheet for steers and one for heifers because they do sell in two separate classes. your heifers are going to have a different value of gain than your steers. The simple facts. Then if you vaccinate those cattle, feed, management, interest, if you borrow money to feed these cattle or to take care of them or vaccine, you include that as well. There's a question here about management fees. What is that? Think about that as a return to your operation, okay? An automatic profitability put into this of I'm returning X amount in a percent to my operation regardless. So you have to you've got to pay yourself to be able to function long term. So that is why it's called a management fee, is paying yourself something. So purchase cattle. If you know very many, does anyone in here buy stockers? No, you do. You're from my neck of the woods. You do? Okay. What is the big deal or what cattle buyers? What do a lot of them talk about when buying cattle? Okay. What about the money is made on the buy? Have you ever heard that term?
Yeah,
So, with stockers, backgrounders, your money is made on the buy of these cattle. It doesn't really matter what they sell for, but if you overpay for them in the beginning, the market's going to have to do something crazily stupid for you to come out on them. So you'll be able to use this tool kind of in a backwards way to maybe determine what the upward price should be of what I pay for cattle. And then ultimately purchase cattle, you work off of the averages for everything. You don't go through and do this animal made this animal made this. It's group averages, lot averages. So this tool will work in any operation where weight is added. So stockers and backgrounders. If you finish cattle, maybe for some value added stuff, this would work for that. Adding weight to cull cows and cull bulls, anything you want to add weight to animals on, this tool will work for. So what metrics do you want for production or financial do you want to keep track of? So this is where your little phone comes up again. What metrics do you want to keep track of when it comes to financials? See, this is fun. You get to use your phone in a presentation.
So I'll be the leader, and if it makes sense to them, and it seems like it works out for them, this, yeah.
As long as it all works.
I'm somebody to show me how I can survive this experience. And so much of horsemanship is working on our own leadership skills. Threw out trigger a moment ago.
Keep typing away. I think you can do unlimited responses for this. If anyone else has responses, put it up there. Or just start saying it out loud too. Rate of gain. What else?
Horses and dogs. And I'll sit in on the presentation.
Okay. Feed efficiency. ROI, cost of gain, rate of gain, weaning weight, financial. So most of these right here, this will not do weaning weight. Now you can use weaning weight as your start weight. This will semi-track your feed efficiency. It will keep track of your financials. Sick cattle, you keep track of your sick cattle in this. Your rate of gain, you keep track of. All your costs, you keep track of your cost of gain. You keep track of your value of gain. You keep track of your ROI. So about everything you guys have put up here, this tool will keep track of. So it's, like I said, it's kind of that all-in-one tool that will be free. So why? Why keep track of this? Ultimately, it's to identify areas of cost savings, and how do I improve that? How do I improve an area? How do I make it better? We all know that some groups do a whole lot better than other groups. Why is that? We don't know. Maybe we could start digging it out a little bit more. Did I overpay for these cattle? Did the market do something? Review. Quality, condition, exactly. Time of year?
Particularly health.
Yes, yes. Review your value of gain, cost of gain, return on investment. You can review that with every group and then also your group averages, but ultimately you cannot manage what you do not know. If you don't know it, how are you going to manage it and how are you going to improve? So metrics, ADG, break-even price, that's calculated in this. Profit per head, total profit on the group, gross margins are calculated. Cost of gain, value of gain. Value of gain, we all know, it is not consistent. It changes every day with every class of animal. Return on investment. I really like ROI. What did that group return to you overall? Did it return a positive ROI? Was it a negative? If you can do 3 turns a year, 3 or 4 turns a year, and you get an 8% return on average, what did that do? You got, if it was 4 turns and you got an average of 8%, you return 32 cents on every dollar. How can you improve that? How can you do better? Show that to your banker. Would that make you a more sound lending opportunity? So this will be coming online sometime in January of 2025. I hoped it would be sooner, but this I've learned many things in this, one of which this kind of stuff takes time and I'm rather impatient in some areas. But it will be coming online in January 2025. What we're suggesting is using a new workbook every year, simply because one, yearly cost for banks, so you can take this to your banker. And then in here, your cost can be updated each year without compromising previous year's records. So every year, feed's going to change. Maybe you get new equipment. Maybe you make new investments in infrastructure. Each year, you can update it if it needs to be to update your cost, and then that way you don't compromise your previous year's records. But you can go to the Ag Business and Policy Extension site with the extension. I'm not sure where it will be located there, but it will be somewhere on there. Also, if you want to get a hold of me, send me an email. You're more than welcome to do that, and I can email it to you or email you the link when it comes out as well. So the layout. What will this look like? There's a printable record sheet for processing. There's financial metrics. There's a feed tab, a yardage calculator, lot details, and then an all lot summary. So that's all within one workbook. So this is a printable record sheet. This is something I developed at our place and I use. But it's really handy to have these whenever you get cattle in. Everyone does something different, which is fine, but I wanted to include this so that you've got something kind of consistent to take with you to the chute to work with. But you put your tag number in. If you weigh the cattle coming in, you can put their incoming weight. When you give second rounds of shots, you can put that there. And then we all know that you have to treat critters from time to time. Sometimes in bulk, sometimes not. But if you have to treat, you can enter that treatment information on the same sheet and start to get a little bit of a picture just at the chute. When did I last treat it? What was the incoming weight? Have you lost weight? Try to figure out these issues before they become big issues. Then you can take this back to your computer, sit down, and start entering the information. So you don't have to use this, but this is just something I thought to put in there to maybe make life a little bit easier, help catch things before they got bigger. So this is the feed worksheet. In this tool, all of the gray boxes, you can enter your own numbers. That's where you enter your information, is in the gray boxes. In the feed worksheet, this captures price fluctuations. You include dry matter and shrink. Now, what we were not able to do is every single load that you get, put that in here, but what we came up with is doing every quarter, put in updated prices for your feed if they change. So if you get 3 loads between January and February, they're all slightly different in price. Just do an average of that price, okay? Just do an average. What the dry matter percent was, and then if there's any shrink. These right here, you can see whenever we get into it, whenever I open up the Excel, I deleted these and I just made it custom to our operation, okay? We don't use soybean meal, cottonseed, soy hulls, corn. We don't have alfalfa. We don't have corn stalk bales. So I just took all that out and I put in what we need. You guys can make this, put in your feed ingredients. If you get a custom mix from MFA or the feed store, just put in that custom mix name and go on. You don't have to do anything fancy. If you grind feed and you use 2 or 3 different items in that grind, put that in. Like Phil, I know you probably use corn or soy hulls or corn stalks or rye baleage or something. Put in your costs here, and that will automatically calculate it later on. So this is something I also want to keep, you already might be aware, but I'll keep in your minds too. Keep the cost to production versus the market value in mind when you're entering the prices, okay? You use the greater of the two. So if your cost of production is, say, $90 a ton or $80 a ton for dry hay, and the market value is $100 a ton, use the market value so you're capturing that value of that hay if you were to sell it. If you use the cost of production whenever the market value is higher, you're subsidizing the operations. You don't want to subsidize either your grain crop or your hay crop for your cattle. You want each one to be self-sufficient. Don't give your feed value away. Inversely, if your cost of production is $80 a ton and hay's going for $60, why would you cut your operations short and put $60 a ton in there? So put whatever one is higher. So feed worksheet again. If you kick critters out onto grass, this is where you enter your pasture information. So you capture your pasture costs, and then it's customizable to fit your operation. So you can, if your place yields 4 ton, on what you consider 4 ton for pasture yield, you put that in there. What would your even if you own the pasture, what could you rent that for? Okay? You remember, you're doing a return to yourself here. If you can rent it for $35 an acre, put that in. If you have to rent it for $100, maybe it is rented ground. But you put your pasture cost in. Grazing rotation frequency, this is a drop-down box. So you click on there and you can choose continuous, you can choose 1 to 2 day, there's a whole list of options here. If you put fertilizer on, you put that cost there. Pasture inputs, this is all customizable as well. Once again, trying to fit this to your operation, it's pretty self-sufficient, really, once you get into it. So a yardage calculator. It's hard for us to come up with what is it costing us in terms of yardage, okay? How much are these facilities costing us? What's by tractor? We just don't like to think about it, so we just disregard it and go on. And it'll be picked up somewhere else. But what is this yardage costing us per day, per head, maybe on a per head basis? So how many head does your operation hold? How many do you go through a year? What's your average days on feed that you hold them for? Labor. So with stockers, backgrounders, in the beginning you have it front loaded on time, on the end it's not. Just put it in however many minutes you think on average across the whole time, okay?
We're doing this breakdown per group or you break
So
down per operation.
So this is for your operation, okay? So this right here, you'll see this right here, this is its own tab, and it will feed into the different lots. So if you were, what you're thinking about, Philip, doing putting weight on cows. So if you think, okay, once I hold the group for 60 days, and I feel like on average, the groups I spend 30 minutes a day with, from it, just an average, grinding, feeding, whatever, you put in 30 minutes per day. Now, if you did stockers, you would have a whole separate workbook that these costs would probably be different for, because the stockers are going to take a different amount of time than your fed cows. So tractor usage, if you use a tractor to feed with at any point, how many minutes per day? A tractor PTO, and then you can put in your fuel costs. It automatically does calculations in the background. So facilities and equipment. These right here are examples. Once again, this is all customizable to your operation. You just put their approximate value. Now, for us, for example, we have a Kubota side-by-side that we feed about everything with. So I'm not going to dump the whole value of that Kubota side-by-side on our stockers, because it feeds bred heifers, it feeds cows, we build fence with it, we do the poor things run to death. So I'm just going to say, okay, I think that the value for the stocker operation is this many dollars, okay? So I'm not going to dump all the value on here. Same thing if you've got a tractor that you bale with, that you do everything else with. Use a reasonable judgment of what that does for this for your stocker or your custom cow or whatever you're putting weight on operation. Interest rate, if you've got any borrowed money on this, put that there. If you don't, leave that blank. Insurance, unfortunately, we all have that in most cases. Just do a reasonable amount. Same thing with property tax. That's going to be different everywhere you are, so that is customizable as well. And then once you enter all that, it's going to spit out this right here. So you can start to get a better idea of what yardage is costing. So this is how, when you open up each lot, this is the first thing that you come to, and this is really where the meat and potatoes of the operation is. This is where you enter each information for each separate lot, and these are all tabs to easily navigate within. So this is the lot inputs. This is where you enter further details. If you have to cull any animals, this is where you put their cull price. If you sell, let's say, three calves that were culls that you bought, that just weren't doing whatever, you just need to get them down the road. What their average price was, you just put that in here, okay? If you don't have to sell any culls for that group, just leave it blank or put a 0. Buyer's commission, if you pay a buyer to buy anything, sometimes buyers include that on the calves, sometimes you pay that separately. If you pay it separately, put it right here. If it's included in the cattle, I would just leave that blank. Professional fees, it's going to cost you something. We don't like to think about it. It's, again, one of those things. But maybe you spend $50, just put some type of number in there because your accountant is costing you something. Interest, miscellaneous, this is the management fees. That's kind of your return to your operation. So think about that there. So lot summary. Once again, you enter the fields in gray. If you notice, you do not enter the number of head because that is calculated off of the started in tax. That is automatically calculated. For the weight, you do not enter like $3.11. You enter $3.11.22. So this is $1 per 100. Okay? So don't enter the dollar. You don't enter 3.11. You enter 311.22, for example. So animal information. This mostly is calculated from this lot summary. This automatically fills it in. But this right here, and you'll see in the example, this is actually right here. These are your dates of when you weigh. These are the weights. If, for example, you don't weigh except for your cull cows, when you buy them and when you sell them, you would enter their sale ticket weight here, and your buy ticket weight here, and your sale ticket weight here, and your sale date and your buy date. When you do stockers, the initial date of processing, their weight. If you weigh them one time, you enter that here, and then their final weight, whether that be at your house or maybe at sale barn average ticket, here and here. So you've got some room to do some custom stuff, depending on what you want to do. And then this, the closeout automatically calculates, the ADG automatically calculates. The feed ration, this pulls from the feeds that you entered up front. So you can go in here and you first enter your ration name, the start date and the end date, and it starts automatically dumping stuff in. You enter a name here, let's say it's just MFA starter, that MFA starter is going to automatically populate here, and then you start entering what goes into that. So Phil, when you custom mix feed, you'd say ration 1 right here, and this would pop up ration 1. You would go what goes into that ration 1, how many pounds, and it would spit out the total cost right here. This is the feed summary. This is starting to get into the summary that everyone was talking about. The ration name, how many days it was fed, the total tons. What was your daily consumption? What was your average weight gain per head? Feed cost per ton, total tons fed. If you have pasture costs, they're down here. So this is kind of your feed summary for that particular lot.
Do you have a way, you got a ration, if you're figuring on per bale, your weight's gonna vary per bale, you just kind of average those? Or
Yeah.
is there a way you,
So if
when you click on your TMR scale, everything, calculate all of that to where X number of pounds goes to that lot.
Mhm.
Can you add that in at a certain time, or how does that, how?
Okay, so say that to me again here. Say that to me again.
So if you mix a ration, you're feeding two different lots with that batch,
Uh-huh.
can you, a lot, X number of pounds goes to this lot? and X number of pounds goes to
Yeah,
this
so you would essentially say, okay, when you're, let's say this is ration 1, and in that ration 1, that you've got ryegrass baleage, you've got corn, you've got whatever, and then you put, okay, out of the ryegrass baleage, they're getting approximately 3 pounds of ryegrass baleage here, they're getting 2 pounds of corn, whatever, and that totals up right here. Same thing then if you had that was for your lot of cows, if you had your lot of stockers, it would be the exact same, it would be the same. So you wouldn't, in a sense, yes, I would sit down and show you how that would work, but it wouldn't be hard to do. So veterinary, we all know that you gotta use drugs and everything else, vaccines. So this is where if you give any vaccines, you put that information in, the cost per dose, is it an all or individual, number of applications, and it spits out a total expense. If you have to use metaphylaxis on a group of stockers, let's say you use Baytril, 5 days in because everyone's starting to break and you want to get on top of it, you just enter Baytril, the cost per dose. So if you gave them 24 cc's, you enter the cost per cc, dosing type all, number of applications 24 cc. You put 24, because 24 cc's would spit out the total price. And that would be applied to all. And then the general veterinary expense per head would be down there. Now, if you've got to treat at critters, you go and put in their tab number, the date of treatment, it pulls up the animal type, you can put in a reason for treatment. This is a drop-down box, so if you use Zaccharin or Zaprivo or whatever you have, it drops down, it gives you a whole list of your veterinary expenses. The cost of the application, so did you do it once, did you do it twice, blah, 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 and then the total expense. The grower finisher budget, this breaks it down on a per head basis so you can see what's going on.
Can you break that down per each?
So this is on a per head basis right here. So per head in that lot. Financial analysis, this is summarizes the financial information for the entire lot. Gross margin, total revenue, value of gain, cost of gain, the break-even price per pound, the return on investment, the net income per head, all your financial information is in one place for that particular group. So this is the all lot summary. So if you do 3 different groups of cull cows in a year, or 3 different groups of stockers or whatever, lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, you've got 5 tabs to do in a year. And so that gives the individual for the feed, the individual for the financial, individual for the budget, and then also the average for the year. So you get kind of a running idea of what it's doing across the year, and then what each group did as well. So this is the evaluation for the presentation, so I don't forget. Pull up your phones if you want to do this real quick. And then we will get on to the
So instead of saying, no, you can't go, if he feels like he needs to move his feet, so each step halfway up, he's gonna swing his left or left, foot start to fall off, step down, take that left leg, shorten it up, and then walk right through those left foot.
is it letting you guys? Let me know when you guys have done it all.
Is there an unlimited amount of lots that you can use?
So, and that is, at the time we had talked about making it so you can copy as many lots as you want to with that financial summary at the end. I don't think it will automatically add more lots. So if you did 10 groups in a year, you'd essentially need 2 spreadsheets. One for the first 5 and then one for the second 5 groups. Thank you. But, yeah.
Watch this whole stack.
Yeah, you mean 5 or 6 groups like whole cows at one time?
Well, I mean, but track cow calf,
So each one of those would be their own separate spreadsheet. So if you used it for whole cows, they would have their own spreadsheet. If you used it for cow calf,
okay, gotcha.
they would have their own spreadsheet. If you did stockers or backgrounders, they would have their own spreadsheet.
So I can break it down like that and actually get more.
Yes.
Or even if I wanted to put a little different, just in there, like,
Yes.
gaming, I can more stack it with it just a little bit different.
Because for cow calf, your weaned calves, you're not going to use your finishing yards for them like you would your cows. Like, so you're going to have your cost structure is going to be a little different there. So this is just the type of operation that you have.
States, treating a little bit like dogs. Walking with us. We see it gets a little too touchy, feely, and we get their mouth, we get their treats out of our hands, things like that. Lady told me one time, she said, my horse just valued everything. My jacket.
See, isn't this fun? Something totally different.
Keeps us all.
Exactly. Who doesn't like using their phones? Okay. So now we're going to go to the Excel. So whenever you pull it up, this is what it will look like. We gotta have this introduction page on here. Sorry, it's there for every workbook you pull up, just for that type of stuff. If you guys have questions, hopkinsrm@umsystem.edu. If you've got questions about the workbook, want to work through it, need something, email is the best way to get a hold of me. So feed tab. So I put this in for our operation. Remember, we're in the Ozarks. Phil's seen our place. You know approximately where we're at. We don't have a whole lot of fancy stuff down there. We get mixed feed brought in. We got hay, and then we've got grass silage, we would call it. So I put in, this was our last feed cost from MFA tonnage. I just ran that all on out just to put numbers in. Dry hay cost and then silage grass cost. Remember your feed dry matter, your percent shrink. And then This over here is your pasture input. And this is the drop down that I was telling you about. So if you do high intensity, you can put in 1 to 2 days. Or you can do, if you don't move that much, maybe once every 30. Or continuous grazing, just depending on what your operation is, you can customize that. If you put fertilizer down, you enter that number here, and then all of these. So this is for her workbook. So let's say you had a workbook for your cull cows that you're buying. So you would basically just leave that blank because they're going to be dry lotted on average. So you would just dry lot it, or you could just put in, okay, they're going to be moved. If they go out to pasture, it'll be every 6 to 10 days. That whenever we get into the feed stuff, then you can put in how much they graze. So yardage calculator. This is where you start inputting the more information to yourself. As you see, we don't have a lot of fancy equipment. Our 90 horse tractor with a loader, it costs more than 10 grand, but at the same time, we don't use it, we use it for multiple applications, so I'm not going to dump all of that cost simply on the stocker operation, because it gets used for everything else. So just put a value there. Same thing with our Kubota side-by-side, it's used for everything else. Yeah, their feed bin and pad, 6 grand. So down here, we don't owe any money. We've paid cash for all of that, so that's 0 interest rate or insurance. It's not much on our stuff. Property taxes. And then this is where you start changing this. So let's just say you bought something really fancy and it's at $45,000. Say it was a grinder. That automatically starts updating. So you customize that to your operation. Now lot 1, you got your inputs. You start putting in however that fits for you. Management fees, once again, remember this is your profitability coming back to your operation. What do I want to see in terms of percentage coming back of profit that's built into each animal? Because you don't make money breaking even. You need to have money built into these cattle making money on. So that's on a percentage of sales. Once again, that's customizable. If you don't want to say, I don't want to deal with that, it's just 0, put 0. Whatever you want to do there. Miscellaneous costs, marketing costs, what it costs to sell little critters. And then you would hit return to navigation and it brings you back to this little deal right here. Lots.
With LRP insurance being marketing costs?
So if we go back, good question. Price insurance is right there. So what does it cost you on a $1 per 100 basis? If you use LRP, if you do hedging, if you do any of that, that is where for that particular group, that's where that cost goes. So lot summary. Here in the past couple weeks, we decided to dip our toe back in. Hopefully there's not a train wreck with health, but we dipped our toe back in. So you can hear sex, you got steer, heifer, cull cows, cull bulls, or mixed lot. You put that in, whatever fits you. Their start tag and their end tag. Now, if you don't tag them, just put like 100 to whatever, put whatever, so it calculates the number of head you have. Some people don't tag their stuff, so if you don't, just enter a random tags that gets you the right number of head. Remember, $1 per 100, so 304.96, not 3.04, but on the 100 basis. Now, if you sell, when you sell them, you have to sell them by like the let's say all 17 of these sold together, but you bought them in 2 different lots. Put the 9 head right here, and this would just be like the sale ticket weight of how much they sold for and the dollar per hundred that they sold for. So pretty easy, and it starts spitting you out information right here as long as you got your feed stuff entered. So go back. Yeah, so that right there is real numbers based upon your feed and everything else. So feed ration. So this is an MFA starter. It's the same thing, but in the beginning we feed calves pretty light, and then we bump them up at about 2 weeks. So this is your MFA feed. In the beginning they were getting, to say, 3 pounds, and they were getting 7 pounds of dry hay. Now, do we know the exact poundage? No, but we can get in the ballpark. You're estimating. And so with the dry hay, you can choose, so if you had your different ration, different feeding ingredients that were going into this MFA starter, this is where you would start clicking on that. And it automatically starts pulling up the price per ton, does those calculations for you. Veterinary, so this is what we have in, or the different items that we use. And you can see the dosing type is all or individual. They get 1 ear tag, they get 1 PI test, they get 2 rounds of Endovac, they get 2 rounds of Pyramid 5. Syndicate wormer, they get 1 round of Synovex. Everyone on this group, both of them, we did a metaphylaxis, so we treated them all on arrival. So I just did a Baytril. It was $12 is what we spent on doctoring each individual animal.
Did you do that up front?
We did on this group.
Was it a high risk group?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And we've heard enough horror stories this fall that we're like, well, we'll just try to get ahead of a disaster. Precisely. Paste that we use. So this is where you put in your general veterinary expense. Now, yes. Now, if you have to treat any animals, this is where you come back and let's say treat a calf 400 on day 12/3/2024. Reasons for treatment, I'm leaving that blank. And let's say we use Baytril again for whatever, and we did a treatment to get a Baytril. So now, we did that for calf 400. You see, it automatically went back. Calf 400. Tag number 400 went, and it pulled up that treatment, that cost treatment that we did for treating the calf. So it automatically restarts remembering that on individual animal treatments as long as you put in the tag number. Your grower and finisher budget, start spitting that out so you have something on what's it looking like on a per head basis, a financial summary, and then all lots. So as we do different lots, it starts dumping that information in there. You guys have any questions?
So does the university have people that are supplying this information where you can see kind of what the average is?
So, what
We used to
information?
have a mail-in record system. I was involved in it a long time. Do they still have that where they're collecting information for the whole state?
So your best bet would be to go to FinBin out of the University of Minnesota and pull information from there. You can choose US. As far as that, I've been here for 8.5 years and I've never seen anything really like that. So they may still do in some aspects. Now, are you talking about the budgets that they put out each year?
Well, their total cost, I mean, basically they're taking a real operation and they're doing all this stuff, but basically it's a return, you know, it's actual return to investment, you know, whether you're making money.
No, we haven't done anything like that,
For
or I haven't been
years,
involved.
so, I mean, I was in up until the 90s.
Yeah, we haven't done anything like that in a long time.
It's been, even before my time, it's been over 17 years.
What a great time that we were living in, it's like, when we were in the information age, just go out
I know
there.
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, we don't pull anything like that anymore. So hopefully you guys can find some of this useful. Once again, it's going to be free. It's going to be ready in January of 2025. I mean, I think it can really benefit you if you're doing adding weight or background interviewing cold cows or anything like that, just to keep track of things better. So, you guys got any questions?
Let's thank Rachel for.
This is for you. It's called each one problem solving, identify